An argument between a police officer and a driver was captured by a passerby's phone camera, appearing quite intense. Suddenly, the driver grabbed the officer. Instantly, 2 more officers arrived, restraining the driver and beginning to physically abuse him. The abuse continued, with 3 officers overpowering the driver. One officer even took out a baton and struck the driver. The first officer noticed the camera and forcefully brought it down. Two Westminster police officers held up a handcuffed woman as she fell to the ground. This incident was captured by a passerby from a distance.
¿Pero qué hizo?
The woman tried to kick one of the officers holding her, prompting him to start punching her. 2 other officers immediately intervened to de-escalate the situation. The 2 officers restrained their colleague while they examined the handcuffed woman. Though she was in the wrong, the officer's excessive force was unjustified, and he would face consequences as the video went viral. An incident occurred on July 24, 2024, at Manchester Airport and was captured by a civilian at the scene. An armed Greater Manchester police officer was seen kicking and stamping on a man's head. The chaos continued as a person was heard yelling, "Move back!" before a female officer appeared, aiming her taser at another person. The situation quickly spiraled out of control. Two other officers were seen punching another civilian, prompting screams from onlookers in the background. A Metro police officer was caught on a phone camera, soliciting bribes for alleged drunk driving as he demanded to check on the motorist.
How can we go and check you?
You're going to check?
The motorist asked the officer what his choices were, and the officer offered him the option of sorting out the situation with money.
There's no more talking, because we are going to bail January.
So you saying that we can sort out like this?
Yes. If you get...
The motorist asked for the officer's badge and told him he was being recorded for his corrupt act. The police officer refused and arrested the motorist, who was taken to the station and took a blood test. He was later charged and released on bail of 1,500 rand. The corrupt officer, however, went unpunished.
Because you're now, she's recording.
Okay, no problem.
I want to find your badge number.
Oh, you want to...
Because you've just said that $200 will sort anything out.
All right.
The officer refuses and arrests the driver.
An incident in New York, captured on a body camera, showed a police officer allegedly racially profiling a driver, Montre Little, by questioning if the car was his.
What's going on, guys?
Okay.
Not much. What's up? Is this your car?
Montre explained it was a rental and his car was in the shop. The officer asked again if the vehicle was his while tapping his body cam.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. You guys just came from over at the park, right?
Yeah, we're just hanging out.
That's it?
That's what...
Is this your...
Montre reiterated that it was a rental, as he had already stated. The officer continued questioning him about the car, as if he were suspecting he was hiding something.
Did they give you a key fob or something, or?
Yes, sir.
Like, what does it do? Does it...
You see, this should let you know that it's in.
The officer then asked if Montre had any weapons, to which he responded no. The officer claimed the car smelled like marijuana and pointed out a shake on the ground.
Do you have any weapons on you or in the car?
No, officer.
Okay, can I be honest with you? It smells like marijuana in the car, and I can see shake on the ground.
The officer suggested Montre's behavior indicated he might have a gun, based on his assumption.
Your buddy's giving me the idea that maybe he's got a gun. You know what I mean?
The officer stated that Montre's posture made him nervous, prompting him to ask Montre to step out of the car.
I mean, just the way you're holding yourself, man. Like, that's why we're nervous, man. That's it. You ain't got no weapons on you? Go ahead and step out, Montre.
Confused, Montre complied, exiting the car with his hands in the air as instructed. He was then handcuffed.
I mean, I told you I'm a cop. Face the car when you step out. Face the car when you step out. Face the car when you step out. Don't flex. Don't flex. I don't know what you're doing, man, but you need to knock that off. Stop pulling on your own.
The officer took Montre in for questioning, repeatedly asking about marijuana and weapons. Montre, who was clearly innocent, was arrested based on unfounded suspicions. He was later released.
I want you to be real with me for a second. Like, did I make that up? You know what I mean? Did I make it up?
I believe so, officer.
Do you have any questions?
Footage shared by DeMarcus Bunch shows a confrontation with police officer Mike Moore. DeMarcus told the officer that he and his friends noticed they were being followed, to which the officer replied that they didn't belong in his city.
I'm Mike Moore. All right.
We Dale Scribner nephew.
Yeah, we there just trying to record a video.
We just noticed you've been following us everywhere.
Right now?
Yeah.
You know why? Because you don't.
DeMarcus insisted that he and his friends did belong there, but the officer claimed he knew who belonged and who didn't, stating that he hadn't seen their faces before.
So that's cool. Oh, yeah. Do your thing.
Oh, yeah, we don't. You said we don't belong in your city, though.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't. I have never seen you here before, and
DeMarcus reiterated that he belonged there, mentioning that he had graduated from high school in England. Officer Mike Moore, appearing confused, then contradicted himself by saying DeMarcus didn't belong, despite previously claiming to know who did and didn't belong.
I graduated from England High.
Well, good for you. My name's Mike Moore.
You all right?
Okay. I'm not from here. Step away from my car. I'm about to do my dog after.
On September 14th, 2017, police body cam footage captured Officer Johan Mulero abusing 69-year-old Florida resident Alan Kidd, shouting at him to sit down.
Sit down. Sit down. Do you understand that? When I tell you to do something, you do it.
Yeah, is that right?
Okay.
You're on a power trip?
Alan explained that he was just standing on the street corner talking to someone. Suddenly, the officer pushed him down and became aggressive.
Standing on the street corner talking to this guy you just met, and all of a sudden you're pushing me.
Officer Mulero ignored Alan's attempts to explain and instead told him to lower his voice. When Alan continued speaking, Johan threatened him with jail if he didn't quiet down.
Yes, I'm telling you the voice.
Okay?
Listen to me. I'm going to tell you one more time. I'm going to tell you one more time or you're going to go to jail.
Is that right?
Lower your voice or you're going to jail.
Officer Mulero demanded Alan's ID, but Alan kept questioning why he was being pushed around.
Do you have ID on you, sir?
Yes, sir. I sure do. I don't understand why you...
Johan responded that he didn't like being tested, leading to him pinning Alan against a car.
I don't like people
I don't
not
like
my
Nazis
order.
either. Okay. Are you done?
The officer ordered Alan to give his arm for handcuffing. Alan protested his innocence, but Johan commanded him to stop talking, effectively bullying him. Officer Johan Mulero was fired a year later when the full body cam footage surfaced.
I show you my ID.
Give me the arm.
I've done nothing.
Stop talking!
What?
A security camera in a Southern California convenience store captured civilian Jose Areola taking out cash to pay for a roll of Mentos before putting it in his pocket.
119.
Security video clearly shows Jose Areola paying for a roll of Mentos at this gas station store. He then puts the candy in his pocket.
An off-duty police officer then pulled his gun on Jose, demanding he put the Mentos back and take out his cash.
Wait. Put it back. Try stealing them. No. I just paid. Get your cash and leave. Hey, get your cash and leave. I just paid.
The officer asked the man behind the counter if Jose had paid for the Mentos. The cashier confirmed that he had. The officer then apologized to Jose, admitting he was wrong and had mistakenly thought a crime was occurring.
Did he pay for this?
Yeah.
He paid for it?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
My apologies, sir. My apologies.
On July 6, 2024, in New York, Sonia Massey called 911 to report suspected trespassing. The chaotic scene was captured on a body camera.
Oh, we hurt you. You called us.
Okay.
So what'd you hear?
Somebody outside my house.
Two police officers arrived and surveyed the house but found no one. Despite this, Sonia appeared terrified, repeatedly saying, "Please, God."
Help with.
Nothing. I just wanted to see if I could help me.
What do you want help with?
Huh?
What do you want help with?
I heard somebody outside.
Yeah, we checked your house.
The officers and Sonia entered a room where she picked up a pot of boiling water. Officer Grayson stepped back, commanding her to stay away from the water. Sonia rebuked him in Jesus' name. This exchange happened twice before Grayson threatened to shoot her.
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I was refused you in the name of Jesus.
Huh?
You in the name of Jesus.
He drew his gun and pointed it at Sonia, who was holding the pot. She ducked and apologized while lifting the pot, and the deputies ordered her to drop it. 3 shots were fired.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the pot! Drop the pot!
After a few seconds of silence, one deputy reported, "Shots fired," and called for emergency medical services.
Drop the pot! Bring EMS now. We got a headshot wound to the female. Headshot wound to the female.
A police officer allegedly broke into a civilian's house without authorization while the resident was asleep. The civilian captured the incident on his phone.
Oh, there isn't. What are you doing in my property, sir?
Okay, let's put the camera on.
Have you just broken access into my property?
A locksmith's house, yes.
Why?
Because you got an order from the courts.
No, I don't. I have no order. I have not been...
The civilian asked the officer if he had a warrant for entering his house, but the officer did not respond positively.
No, I want a warrant. I didn't ask for an order. I have not been handed an order.
Right.
You had no right to break into my property. Can you show me this warrant, please? I want to see the warrant you have to break into my property.
Don't stop quoting law.
No, I'm not trying to quote law to you.
The civilian repeatedly asked the officer to leave his property, but the officer refused while someone at the door was changing the lock.
It's my property. Until a court order is handed to me, you had no right. So you've broken into my property without no right.
I haven't broken into your property.
Yes, you have.
Sophia has, because she's got the court.
Okay, well, Sophia is doing illegal.
Despite the civilian's continued requests for the officer to leave, the officer remained, seemingly abusing his power as a police officer.
You're intimidating. I'm asleep. How do you expect me to react when someone walks into my property like
Banging
that?
and shouting for quite a while.
No, I can't hit you, okay? I'm asleep. I'm a deep sleeper. I worked late last night, okay?
A police officer was captured on a phone camera, allegedly strangling a young man and refusing to release him. The officer finally let go when another man intervened, yelling at him. The officer then slammed the young man's head while demanding that he put his hands behind his back. On November 12, 2015, 2 officers were captured on camera beating a young man on the head with batons. The footage shows them pursuing him into an alley in San Francisco where the assault took place. The brutality of the incident was striking. Instead of handcuffing him while he was on the ground, they chose to continue the attack. The young man was later hospitalized with severe bruises on his head and hands. A Santa Clara police officer arrived at a home to arrest a girl on charges, but was met with resistance when her mother refused to open the door.
Arrest your daughter for on-view charges.
The 12-minute video released by Burfine's attorney begins with an officer warning her to step away from the door.
The officer warned her to step away from the door, stating that he intended to kick it down, but the woman refused, arguing that he did not have a warrant.
She refuses to open it because officers didn't have a warrant.
Despite the officer's repeated demands to step away, The woman held her ground, leading the officer to forcefully kick the door open.
So can you please move back?
It's not clear by the video what causes Burfine to fall. Her attorney says officers threw her down, but the chief says that claim is false.
My officers used minimal amount of force.
Once inside, the officer grabbed the woman, who demanded he let go. In the struggle, she sustained a broken leg and continued to scream in pain. The police department initially claimed it was an accident, but eventually agreed to pay $7 million in compensation for entering the house without a warrant and causing the injury.
Guy hit her back to the other officer. She slipped on or tripped on the porch.
What's more, the chief says there's a crucial part of the video that's...
A Baltimore police officer was captured on a phone camera arguing with a civilian before abruptly starting to punch him.
I was sitting on the steps and I was stopping you. Go what?
The officer continued to hit the civilian even as his colleague attempted to intervene. He kept punching until the civilian was on the ground.
I got all that. Don't worry about it.
While the civilian was on the floor, the officer pinned him down, seemingly attempting to suffocate him.
I'm not touching him. Hey, yo, see this shit, yo? Hey, yo. I got all that, dummy. We got all that. I got all that.
Police officer Morris entered a restaurant and approached a young black man who was confused about why he was singled out.
Who are you?
For what? What did I do?
You have any ID on you?
But when Townsend questioned him about the call,
The officer requested the young man's ID. Still puzzled, the young man eventually provided it while the officer called for backup, accusing him of racial profiling.
why he needed to give him ID, but eventually showing it, the officer calls for backup before taking him out of the restaurant. He accused the officer of racial...
The young man expressed his frustration and questioned why the officer was focusing on a tattoo on his face. The allegations of misconduct were taken seriously and were subject to an investigation.
He's over here talking about my tattoos and anything else to get out here, bro. I don't understand.
A young black man filmed police officers confronting car passengers. One officer accused him of interfering when he mentioned that passengers weren't required to identify themselves. The man argued that simply speaking out should not be considered interference.
No question about it. If you're a passenger, you don't have to identify.
You are now breaking the law. You're interfering.
The argument continued as the officer demanded the young man's ID and threatened him with arrest.
Badge number.
It's printed on my shirt. Move out of the way.
Are you trying to intimidate me?
I'm not trying to intimidate you.
So why are you so close to me?
Okay, give me your ID. You've interfered with an investigation. If you refuse to give me your ID...
The officer stated that the young man was being arrested for interference and began to handcuff him. As they took him away, the officers repeatedly accused him of interfering with their investigation.
You are interfering with
I
my
don't
investigation. When you take my
get your super. So you turn my phone off too?
I did,
yes.
This is pathetic policing from public servants, and here's the story.
At night, an off-duty Medford police officer was captured on a dash cam, aggressively approaching a man in a car after emerging from a truck. Despite the driver reversing, the officer followed closely.
In the dark of night, a man driving a pickup truck gets out and aggressively approaches another driver. That driver throws it in reverse, but the guy keeps coming and makes...
The officer threatened to shoot the driver and accused him of making a wrong turn. He said the driver was lucky he was a police officer, or else he would have beaten him up.
Police detective named Stephen Labert. He accused the driver of making a wrong turn at a rotary.
You're lucky I'm a cop, because I'm beating the out of you right now. Jeez.
Simultaneously, the officer demanded the driver's license. The driver mentioned he had a dash cam, but the officer dismissed this concern.
I just want to let you know. Give me your license.
I also want to let you know.
Give me your license.
Okay, I just want to let you know I also have a dash camera.
He's digging for his gun, telling me he's going to shoot me, and I'm like, it's a bit extreme.
The notorious case of police brutality involving Rodney King remains unforgettable. On March 3, 1991, an unrelated bystander filmed the severe beating of King by Los Angeles Police Department officers during his arrest following a high-speed chase on the I-210 for driving under the influence. The footage, widely broadcast and reported by news media around the world, ignited widespread outrage and became a significant catalyst for discussions on police misconduct. Dashboard camera footage captured a distressing scene involving a 65-year-old woman being roughly handled by police officers.
A much more serious story. It involves an arrest caught on video, and it has led to an internal police investigation.
Yeah, the video shows police dragging a grandmother, look at this, out of her vehicle at a traffic.
The incident began when Rose Campbell was stopped and issued a ticket for failing to maintain her lane. She refused to sign the ticket, concerned it might be an admission of guilt.
After she refused to get out of that vehicle, and she is now speaking out, and ABC's Zachary Keish joins us with more on this morning.
The officer attempted to forcibly remove Campbell from her vehicle. With the help of additional officers, Campbell was pulled out of her car. Officer James Legg used abusive language and physically manhandled her.
Caught on police dash cam. That woman is 65-year-old grandmother Rose Campbell. Listen to her.
Campbell was arrested on the spot. The incident prompted an investigation, leading to Officer Legg's suspension and eventual resignation. In this next video, a police officer faces serious accusations of assaulting a citizen in his custody. Caught on camera, Warren Police Officer Matthew Rodriguez is seen engaging in a verbal confrontation with an inmate. The situation escalates as Rodriguez punches the inmate, forces him to the ground, and slams his head against the floor.
This officer strikes the prisoner and takes him to the ground. Once on the ground, the officer delivers additional punches to the prisoner.
Rodriguez then drags the young man and throws him into a prison cell. The aggressive handling raises concerns that Rodriguez may have had a personal vendetta against the inmate.
Although the audio was not released and the booking officer failed to have his body cam on, a violation, the police internal investigation recommended criminal charges.
The officer was charged with a criminal offense and placed on paid leave. He was scheduled for an employment hearing the following week to review his status with the department. Footage released by the Providence Police Department in July revealed the dramatic events that unfolded when officers detained 3 teenage suspects. After a lengthy chase, Officer Domingo Diaz was seen engaging in excessive physical force, repeatedly punching one of the suspects until he was restrained by a fellow officer.
Now available for public viewing, shows Officer Domingo Diaz allegedly punching an already restrained juvenile until he was pulled away.
Despite the presence of numerous officers at the scene, only Officer Domingo Diaz and Officer Mitchell Voyer faced suspension with pay while an investigation into their alleged use of force during the arrest was conducted. Body cam footage captured a heated encounter between a police officer and an EMT in Portsmouth, Ohio in January 2017.
Just stay back, okay?
The incident occurred during the aftermath of a bar fight when an injured man, who was unconscious and panicking, was attended to. As the officer began to use a taser on the man, the medic intervened, concerned for the injured man's safety. This led to a heated argument between the officer and the medic, during which the officer physically restrained the medic. Despite the confrontation, the Portsmouth police chief concluded that the officer's actions did not constitute improper use of force, and no disciplinary measures were imposed. The notion that the police are your friends can be challenged when an officer displays excessive force. Captured by a passerby's phone camera, a troubling incident unfolds as a Portland police officer fires shots at an unarmed civilian. The footage shows a police officer and a policewoman restraining a young man during what appears to be a search. When the young man attempts to break free, he is tackled to the ground. The situation escalates as the female officer draws her gun, and moments later, gunshots are heard. The young man is left lying on the ground, appearing lifeless. It's profoundly disturbing to see a police officer, whose role is to uphold peace and order, instead contribute to violence. Body camera footage reveals a harrowing scene where an officer violently assaults a civilian. The officer is seen knocking the man to the ground and relentlessly beating him, even resorting to using a baton. Despite the bloodshed, the officer continues his brutal assault without restraint. Police brutality has been a persistent issue in the United States, and unfortunately, it continues to be a serious concern. A phone camera recording captured a disturbing incident involving 4 police officers who used excessive force during an arrest. The footage shows one officer choking the man from behind and forcefully bringing him to the ground. Moments later, another officer presses his knee against the man's head while he struggles to breathe as they attempt to handcuff him. Thankfully, cameras can hold police accountable for their actions. A passerby captured a troubling act of police brutality on their phone, leading to serious consequences for the officers involved. The footage reveals 2 Seattle police officers using batons to violently assault a protester at a South Seattle bus stop.
See a snippet of video like this involving what the police are doing.
One officer is seen pinning the man's head to the ground with his knee. 4 years later, the incident prompted an investigation, putting the careers of the officers under intense scrutiny. A routine traffic stop can sometimes spiral into something far from ordinary. Body cam footage reveals how a simple stop for no license plates escalated into a harsh confrontation.
July 1st, 2022, Antioch police pull over a car with no license plates.
I'm just a passenger.
I know, but I need to verify if you have a license so I can see if somebody can actually drive this thing.
What started as a routine stop took a dramatic turn when the passenger, who had outstanding warrants, was handcuffed for arrest. Despite being instructed to enter the police car, he refused to comply.
The passenger had outstanding warrants. He refused to get into a police cruiser.
As the suspect resisted arrest, the officer forced him to the ground. Officer Matthew Nutt then ordered him to get up and into the police cruiser. Once by the vehicle, Officer Nutt's behavior turned violent, and he began to physically assault the suspect. The excessive force used during the arrest led to an investigation, resulting in Officer Nutt's dismissal.
The chief says no one should get a pass for violating police policies, all while promising transparency.
Sometimes police brutality can have devastating outcomes, as seen in the tragic case of 26-year-old Patrick Lyoya. On April 4, 2022, a phone camera captured the harrowing moment when a Grand Rapids officer tried to arrest Patrick. Despite Patrick's resistance, the situation escalated rapidly. The officer, Christopher Schur, drew his gun and fatally shot Patrick in the back of the head. The incident led to serious legal repercussions for Officer Schur, who was charged and sentenced to jail. In this next video, captured by a bystander's phone, an unsettling encounter unfolds. The footage shows an officer, seemingly irked by being recorded, stopping his vehicle to confront a citizen who was filming him. The officer escalates the situation by drawing his gun in a show of intimidation.
Clearly didn't like that I was pointing my camera to videotape him. He thinks he's being funny now.
Thankfully, the citizen was well informed of his rights. He calmly informed the officer that he had done nothing wrong and threatened to post the video online.
Go take your hand out of your pocket.
No, sir, I haven't done nothing. I've done absolutely nothing, no.
Hey, seriously.
Put your gun down, really?
Confronted with the possibility of public exposure, the officer eventually left without making an arrest. True to his word, the citizen shared the footage online for all to see. In the following footage, a man faces unnecessary harassment from a police officer for something as mundane as eating a sandwich. Captured by the man's girlfriend, the video shows the officer approaching the man on a Bay Area BART platform.
You single me out out of all these people. You're eating. Bro, so what?
The officer claims the man is being detained for resisting arrest, despite no apparent reason for such a charge. Another officer arrives on the scene, and without seeking any clarification, he immediately handcuffs the man and takes him into custody.
Turn around now. I've done nothing wrong. Turn around, man.
Stop. Just listen. Just listen.
Ain't nobody resisting.
Dashboard cam footage captured a shocking incident involving Delaware officer Thomas Webster, who was seen kicking a young man in the jaw while on duty. The brutal kick resulted in the young man sustaining a broken jaw. Following allegations of police brutality, Officer Webster was placed on unpaid leave in 2013 while an investigation into the incident was conducted. Abuse of power by police is not confined to the United States. It can happen anywhere. In Albania, a phone recording captured a disturbing incident where police officers assaulted a teenager caught attempting to steal a decorative flag from a street post. The teen's intention was to hang the flag on his balcony to celebrate Albania's 100th independence anniversary. CCTV footage from a police station in Shreveport, Louisiana, captured a troubling incident involving Angela Garbarino, who was arrested for DUI.
Officer Wiley Willis was required to read her rights, but Garbarino was insistent.
The footage reveals that after being denied her right to a phone call, Angela was forcefully handcuffed by Officer Wiley Willis, who then turned off the police camera. The subsequent events showed Angela lying on the floor of the police station, severely injured with 2 black eyes, a broken nose, 2 broken teeth, and multiple cuts and bruises. The shocking footage led to Officer Willis being immediately terminated from his position. Body cam footage captured a distressing scene where an innocent man in Watonga was physically assaulted by a police officer in front of his young son. The officer, finding the man suspicious, initiated an interrogation.
You're watching body cam video from a Watonga police officer who stopped this man, John Sexton, and his son in the early morning of July 4th.
When the man couldn't provide identification, tensions escalated. The officer then forcefully arrested him and took him to the police car, leaving his son in tears outside.
His son watched and wailed.
Fortunately, the incident was recorded and the man later filed a complaint against the officers. The final case, captured by onlookers on their phones, is a tragic example of police violence that resulted in the death of a young black man. On January 1, 2009, BART police responded to reports of a fight on a train returning from San Francisco and detained 22-year-old Oscar Grant at the Fruitvale BART station. In the footage, officers can be seen restraining Grant on the platform. One officer kneed him in the head, forcing him to lie face down. At this moment, Officer Johannes Messerla drew his pistol and shot Grant in the back, ending his life. The shooting sparked widespread protests and riots the following day.